Today, much like yesterday, was mostly focused on that short story that I've been editing. But instead of edits, I ended up writing a new final paragraph to the story, comprised of just 4 sentences, and yet that took me a, a fair amount of time. I'd say a couple hours it took me to really think of what I wanted to write. Yeah, so that made up most of my day. I got obviously a little bit of writing done with the novel here, which I obviously updated. It was a little, like, not quite 400 words, but somewhere around that. But yeah, most of the day was just spent in that final paragraph. And to be honest, it's one of those things where, like, people might think that spending so much time on a single paragraph may be, unnecessary or too much. But the ending of your story is going to matter a lot more than just about anything else in your story. If you take it by itself. As a general kind of rule of writing, nobody really cares about how anything begins. And I'm not talking just the start of your story. I'm saying no one's going to care what the inspiration for your story was, or how you penned your first draft, or how anything started with you. All they're going to care about is just the end product, the finality. And that goes for endings as well. I mean, the ending of a story, it carries a lot of weight. People often talk about writing the beginning of a story, and focusing a lot on the first few pages, the first few chapters, because that's what agents are going to see. That the idea is that is what will hook your reader in a sense. But the ending is what really is going to matter. It's going to be the lasting impression that you're going to leave on your reader. So as important as a beginning is, I mean, the ending really is what you want to nail down for anything that you write. And in my case, that last paragraph, I wanted to have a sort of poetic nature to what I was writing. I wanted a little bit of lyricism in the words. So I just was tinkering a lot with how I wanted those sentences to be structured. And it took up, a good amount, a fair amount of my free time today. Today to do that. And I will say, focusing so much on getting the sentences correct in a short story, it is going to matter a bit more than I would say compared to a novel, just because a paragraph in a novel comprises maybe, like one paragraph might be, like 0.25%, something like that, like 1/400th maybe, or I mean, it's you probably have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paragraphs in a novel. In a short story, a paragraph, a sentence, because you have so few, and your word count is so low, everything you write is going to carry a lot more weight individually by itself. So a paragraph is going to carry a lot more weight just because it comprises more of the piece. And so I do think that you have to be, if you're going to be a bit more neurotic about your writing, it needs to be when coming up with shorter fiction, just because of really the low word count and how much each word is going to stand out and carry more weight than when bulked up basically into a giant novel. Not to say obviously that you can't. I talk all the time about being very mindful and being very conscious of what you put in the page. So you definitely need to do that as well with a novel, but with a short story, everything gets magnified. And so, looking ahead to the rest of the week, I mentioned this is sort of my vacation week. So, I'm not sure what I'll be getting done for tomorrow. I'm hoping just to kind of continue with this word count. I still might be able to maybe get the story done by sometime next week if I can kind of plug away at it. But between this and kind of putting the touches on my short story, we'll kind of see where that happens.